Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Clio Talk. My name is Matt,
And I'm RC.
and we have a long list of interesting things to talk about, and really no actual way to follow this train of thought. But big news out of Omaha, right?
Yeah, they're making a streetcar.
Yeah, and it's more ambitious than Kansas City streetcar.
Yeah, they've basically seen the success of the Casey streetcar, and they're taking that approach and just making it larger to start instead of just a little 1 or 2 mile loop.
And honestly, Kansas City should have started like that, but at least Omaha's had to learn from our mistakes.
Yeah,
And at least, Kansas City and Omaha's streetcar will be better than Cincinnati's, who we have beef with due to sports reasons,
yeah,
right?
honestly.
Even though my cousin's husband's starting a brewery out there. So,
Well, my sister's family-in-law is from Omaha, not from Omaha, geez, from Ohio, and
yeah.
they kind of they would do like little bets, like, oh, if the Chiefs win, I'll do this, or if the Browns win, I'll do this, until the Bengals started winning, and then all of a sudden they were Bengals fans, and they started making all their bets about, oh, if the Bengals win, it's like, okay,
But they're from Northern Ohio.
yeah, they are. They're from like Cleveland, effectively. So it's just like, come on, guys. I just don't think they care about football. I think they just, want to connect with my sister, and it's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Man. We also have some transportation news with the new draft for the NFL coming
Yes.
to the great city of Kansas City.
Yes, this is your draft preview episode, sponsored by nobody. Sponsored by this mead I'm drinking right now.
Sponsored by my credit card, who pays for some stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
So-
we got a mock draft ready for you guys, football content, right, Matt?
Yeah. Number one, Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets.
Yes, the Jets are going to be good. Maybe.
I'm going to put it out there. I sent it to RC. If you don't care about football, I am sorry. Hopefully we'll remember to put a timestamp so you can fast forward past football talk. But
This will last like maybe 2 minutes.
so it would be absolutely hilarious if the Jets upset the Chiefs in the AFC Championship to just get completely blown out in Super Bowl, like worse than the Bills. Just like absolutely just flatlined. Just
Yeah.
they don't even score a point.
It would be pretty funny.
They bring Fireman Ed out of retirement, and somehow like the Jets pay for his like FTX lawsuit because he's getting sued because he was involved in the FTX scandal, which is weird that Fireman Ed was involved with that.
It'd be the worst thing to happen in New Jersey since New York.
Yeah, it'd be the worst thing to happen in the New York City area involving Jets in a while.
It's a better one.
uh,
Anyways, hard pivot.
no, not a hard pivot.
Oh, you can't make a 9/11 joke and then not pivot.
It's just weird that Sam Bankman-Fried knew about Fireman Ed.
Well, of course. I feel like that was almost a like Brady thing.
Well,
Because he went to every Patriots game, if you think about it. Every Patriots game the Jets played. Because he was in the ad with Brady, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like Brady was just like, hey, here's a guy in the New York area who, millions of people will recognize, and we can get in the advertisement for this scam.
Man, I remember my brother on his iPod Touch had the Fireman Ed app.
Fireman Ed app.
Yeah, Fireman Ed
What?
had an app, which is just a bunch
Oh
of
my
sound bites
God.
of Fireman Ed.
What sound bites does he
Oh,
have?
he recorded a bunch of ones to insult current of the day players, and also so you could like Tom Brady and then something else in Fireman Ed's like extremely like New York accent. And
Just imagining like the mid-regional, hello, I'm walking here.
yeah. God, but my brother, he would play Tom Brady. He hangs out with models over and over again with the Fireman Ed app, and that's all he played was Tom Brady. He hangs out with models as if that was like some
I was
sort
gonna
of
say, is that
insult.
like a diss?
That's not a diss.
Tom Brady is rich and successful.
And he hangs out with models. He married one. Oh my
Oh
God.
my God.
Jesus.
Anyways, yeah, the draft is coming, and with it, the streetcar is going to get to shine for the first time.
Yeah, I wrote it the other day, and they have a special recorded message from Mayor Quentin Lucas saying, "Hello, my name is Mayor Quentin Lucas, and I'd like to thank you for riding the KC streetcar, which everyone will remember when they have to get off at the Crossroads station instead of Union Station, and then walk to Union Station, which is, if you're not used to walking, a pretty painful walk.
Yeah, because it's over the highway.
It is. Well, no, it's over the train tracks.
Yes. I think that's one of the only downsides of not having it go on Grand instead of Main is the fact that we actually use our unions. We use our train station. It's basically the mascot of the city. I think, maybe more so than other cities. I can't really think of another city that has just a building that's like the central area.
Well,
Like,
most.
but that's the problem is it's our main transit corridor too. So whenever like the parade happens for the Chiefs winning, they had to shut down Main Street.
Most American cities have a Union Station. St. Louis is a Union Station. And there's a bunch of stuff there, but like St. Louis also has the curse of the arch, so they can't really have anything else architecturally interesting become their main
Yeah,
face because they have a stupid arch.
and that's what I'm saying though is that they're more distributed. KC, it's like you got the loop, but like Union Station is like where everything is. Just because I think the Liberty, the big mall, that we got down there, the big lawn, just allows for so many events, and you can get like 500,000 people on that lawn easy.
Yeah, but they're closing down the station that would stop at Union Station with the streetcar because the NFL told them to, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Big Daddy Goodell. He's got the Big Daddy NFL money, and he's just like, yeah, we're gonna have. It's the largest setup in NFL draft history. They got the most, I guess, square footage. I guess that's for outside. It's the largest stage, but yeah, they're shutting down the main streetcar hub that's where it turns around.
Yeah, screw Kansas City Public Transit. You can walk from the Crossroads, which isn't that bad of the walk, but also I am a person in there somewhere of my range of 20s, and also I walk for fun.
Yeah.
And I try to get at least 5 miles a day. So the walk from Crossroads Station to Union Station wouldn't be that bad for me. It does suck that you have to walk over train tracks, basically, and you get to see a bunch of freight trains and maybe an Amtrak train. But if you're drunk or not ready for that walk, that could be jarring.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of culture shock, especially with people coming from other areas to here where they might be expecting I don't know, SEPTA or something, and it's like, yeah, no, you pretty much have to rent a car, because the buses are okay, but
or hopefully you got a downtown or Crossroads hotel.
Yeah, because if you stayed in
or
Overland Park or anything like that, you are boned.
Or you got the Weston or Sheridan, which is basically catty corner, and you could walk there.
Yeah, but I thought those had to have gone like hotcakes. I mean, we're gonna have this exact problem with the World Cup in a couple of years, where we're still only going to have one north-south route, and there's going to be even more people, and they're going to be even less understanding of the culture in Kansas City around public transit and stuff. You have to get a car, and they might even, go on the Kansas side on accident, and then you really need a car because there's 2 bus routes.
But there's going to be people who made the KC Mo mistake, even if they are Americans. That mistake is easily made.
The former president made that mistake when we won the Super Bowl. So, yeah, it's definitely not that he's necessarily a paragon of knowing things, but it's an easy mistake to make.
Now, I'm curious, do you think there'll be an uptick in interest in World War I history if there's a bunch of drunk people standing in front of the plaques that have John Pershing on it around the World War I Memorial, and there's I wonder who that guy is.
I hope so, but I'm not holding my breath because World War I is I think it's basically destined to always be Korean War of 1812 level in the American consciousness. It's just never going to be that well known.
I think it should add some context. We do have right by Union Station, if you look at a picture of Kansas City, basically that picture that's going to pop up first, which is going to have Union Station in the foreground and then the skyline in the background, is taken from the National World War I Museum and Memorial. Yeah, that's the National World War I Museum, just like the National World War II museums in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. It's a big tower with an internal flame on it, and it's basically at the top of this hill, which makes kind of an amphitheater, which is what the NFL is using to be their main viewing area of the draft.
Yeah, because it's a central location. It's iconic to Kansas City, and it is, I think, the only World War I museum like that's actually sponsored and maybe partnered with the Smithsonian in the United States. Like, there's nothing in D.C. There might be like a memorial, but even the World War II, Vietnam, Korean War memorials, I actually know what they look like. I don't know I think the World War I is just a bunch of doughboys, right?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I've never been to DC, so I don't know.
Yeah. But so I have pulled up on my computer. I think I texted you this, but I want to bring it up. I just think it's funny because we have the KC streetcar and we have Ride KC, right? That's our two major transit agencies. But Ride KC, despite being, KC named, it serves Johnson County and all the Kansas metro area as well, because
Wyandotte County.
Yeah, we work under one regional transit agency, the KCATA, Kansas City Area Transit Authority. So like the Joe, which was the Johnson County bus system, was absorbed into it. But I just noticed that all of their planning and maps they're putting out for like updated bus lines and stuff for the draft conspicuously stop exactly on the Kansas state line, like perfectly. And it's like, guys, you can go into Kansas, like you are a regional bus service. You don't have to just stop exactly on the border. Because like this stop right here, 2 blocks south of that, which it's on State Line Road, right over by I don't know.
It's going to be on 47th Street.
Yeah.
It's going to be 47th and Mission, which is the location of the original Casey Joe's Barbecue gas station location, which is, I think, the point you're going at.
Yeah. But this one's just 2 blocks north of it. And it's like, guys, because the whole point of this like updated corridor is basically to get people from downtown to restaurants and points of interest and stuff. And it's like, but they're not going to like what I would argue is the barbecue restaurant of Kansas City, which is Joe's.
Well, so they have connected OG Gates and OG Arthur Bryant's. Weird that they proceeded to choose Ponax as their Mexican food call out. If you are coming to Kansas City for the draft and you do listen to this podcast, which would be a weird crossover, there are better Mexican restaurants on Southwest Boulevard. I like Ponax. Ponax is great. They give you a lot of food, and they're very generous with their margaritas. If you want to go get demolished on margaritas, Ponax is great. There's more authentic Mexican food on Southwest Boulevard.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just, I don't want to say gentrification of the city, but it's just very interesting the polishing they've been doing the past couple of weeks of presenting Kansas City for a global audience, or I guess a national audience.
But it feels like Kansas City's really rushing to like do their homework like on the bus, basically.
Yeah.
Instead of, and we're not going to learn any lessons from this because it's Kansas. Knock on wood that we do learn a lesson from this, but we're not going to learn any lessons from this when it comes to the World Cup. And I want to eat those words so bad. I want to be embarrassed that I said that we would embarrass ourselves in the World Cup, but we probably will.
Well, we just straight up, we need an east-west route for the streetcar, and we need to start actually investing in dedicated lanes like they have in Minneapolis for a streetcar system. Because right now, if the roads are busy when like 600,000 people come here for the World Cup or 300,000 people come for the draft, the problem is the streetcars are going to get stuck too, which does kind of feed into my second point. This is basically just a shock and blast of an episode again, because I think Cleo Talk is basically just going to devolve into this, guys. We don't really have that much of a structure.
We do. That was the whole point of this episode, or in series in general. But we do have more guests lined up sometime soon.
Yes. So,
shotgun blast. Get at it. I know what you want to talk about.
Yeah, I-69. It's a highway in Kansas.
It's Highway 69.
I know, but I-69 sounds okay. Highway 69. I like I-69 better. I know it's not I-69,
it's not an interstate,
but it sounds cooler. I know it only goes in Kansas, but I-69.
69 Highway goes on longer than that. It's one of the OG. It's like Route 66.
I know. And Kansas had a turnpike before the highway project in 56. Yeah. The Kansas Turnpike, it's older. It's 1952.
So they are expanding 69 Highway.
Yeah. They're basically doing from, I think, 159th to like College or 85th or something. One of those. I didn't pull up the article, but either way, they're expanding the highway to add not new lanes you could drive on, but this time they're adding toll roads, like express lanes, on 69, which supposedly is the busiest highway in Kansas, which I buy because it's pretty much the thoroughfare for all of Johnson County, which is the largest county in Kansas. But they're expanding it with toll roads, which if you're trying to, improve access to the roads, toll roads are just a good way of improving access for the people who can pay for it, which I'm imagining is probably the point of this entire project. But they're expanding it despite the fact that it's not really that clogged up most days. It doesn't really have that big of a traffic problem because I drive it fairly often. And the only time I've ever run into bumper-to-bumper traffic is when they started construction of the 69 Express project. It's the only time I've ever seen bad traffic on it. And I take it down to Pleasanton sometimes. And so do you remember how much it costs, this entire 69 project construction cost?
$600 million.
Yeah. $600 million to expand like maybe 4 miles of highway, to add toll roads. They're not even adding any new lanes. They're maintaining the regular amount of lanes. They're just adding toll roads.
One more lane, bro. One more lane.
Yeah. It's not even like bus lanes or bus only lanes or high occupancy vehicle lanes. It's just toll roads. So people who with money that can afford to pay a toll on their commute every single day can go by probably 5 minutes faster every single day.
I heard a story once from someone who went to Disney World and they bought the Fast Pass. Weird that they now require a bunch of like biometric stuff like your fingerprints. I wouldn't give Disney my fingerprints, but they were using the Fast Pass and they were just like, wait, this thing I paid for still means I have to wait in line, and sometimes the line is longer. And I wonder if that's going to be the same situation with the 69 deal, where the toll roads might be clogged, but if there's a barrier between the toll roads and the actual regular lanes, there'll be more traffic in the toll roads than there will be in the regular lanes, and there'll be a bunch of people basically trying to, at the most inopportune moment, cross from the toll roads into the regular lane and cause more accidents.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's just, it gets down to the point of, this is a huge waste of money because it doesn't solve the problem it's trying to solve, which is fixing traffic, right? Because all it's doing is what every highway expansion does, which is just add more lanes, but not actually like improve thoroughfare, right? It's just like, here, there's more space for your cars to drive on, but then, more cars are going to drive on it because there's more space, so it's going to back up. When on the project website, they have a section saying light rail. Oh, that sounds like a good idea, right? Something new, something, higher output or whatever. You can fit more people in less cars. And they basically just said, yeah, no, we're not in the program. We're just not even going to consider it.
If I remember correctly,
no study.
When you sent it over to me is you said, the website said, from my memory, because we don't have it open because we're
professionals.
We're professionals. They said that due to low potential demand and small the lack of density, light rail wouldn't be an option.
Yeah, which so you want the city and the county to continue to expand, right? Because that's not you as in even the listener or Matt, just you as in the ethereal being of capitalism, right? You want the city to continue to expand because that means that there's a greater demand for people to live there. So that means you can keep like growing the city, and that means your existing real estate is worth more because it's in a more prime location, right? But the only way to actually sustain that beyond any point is just to build what every other major city in the United States has figured out is the solution, which is some form of train, bus, or whatever. Because Johnson County doesn't even have any buses. They have I think 2 lines that go from, I believe, Kansas City to the courthouse, which is over by City Hall. And then there's another route that I don't remember where it goes, but it doesn't really go anywhere. But most of the suburbs are completely busless. So even if you wanted to take any form of alternative transit, you can't. and most of the suburbs aren't by anything because they're suburbs. So the problem is that as it continues to expand, we're going to run into this problem that they foresaw in 1999 when they were originally doing the Kansas City metro area transit future vision 2020, which is, hey, yeah, by 2020, if we just keep doing what we're doing, even highway expansions won't be sufficient to actually alleviate any form of traffic. That was from a study from like 1996, which advocated for light rail, like kind of a Chicago style regional rail, like MARTA or whatever. Basically just like, here, if you can get people on trains into downtown to go to work and stuff, that will be the best way to alleviate traffic off the highways. But I don't even think they voted on it. They just kind of brushed it aside. And then every single transit plan since then for Johnson County has not been allowed to mention regional rail or commuter rail in any way. It's all just been about highways. And this is where you get into this, which I'm very disappointed. Laura Kelly is a big supporter of this 69 Expressway project. She was like at the groundbreaking and stuff. She just seems all for it, where it's like you don't recognize that this is completely kneecapping Johnson County at a certain point, where it's dumping.
But the issue is it's actually popular with people who go out and vote, and as we know, and some people might not know, Johnson County is a growing Democrat stronghold.
Yeah,
and if you're a Democratic governor, you probably want to placate one probably extremely wealthy, or at least moderately wealthy, who can donate to campaigns, and two, a demographic that is not only wealthy but also is moving, or at least moderately wealthy, moving towards the left.
And see, that's just what I don't get. I don't understand why people don't see. I get that you like your single family homes or whatever, but it's just there's a certain point where there's so many people trying to drive on the same amount of roads towards where the jobs are at like Corporate Woods or downtown or whatever, where it doesn't matter how many lanes you add. You can look like Houston where you got 50 lanes, where it's just there's not going to be, there's too much water for the pipes, You can keep making the pipe bigger, but the water's going to stay the same. It's just going to keep filling up the pipe, and it's just, sometimes you need an overflow valve.
Yeah. And also, I mean, the more lanes you have, the more people will think, well, that's a bigger area, so we'll go faster there. Also, complete gear shift. Speaking about like Johnson County buses, I remember when I was living in Lawrence, there was that like JCCC express bus that went down K10, and I always wanted to take that when I was living there, but I knew as soon as I arrived at JCCC, what am I gonna like walk across the street to like the Wooden Spoon? Like where am I supposed to go? Because now I'm basically trapped in a square full of stroads, and I have nowhere else to go.
And that's the big problem with Kansas City is it's car culture or whatever, but it's just once you get there, you don't have anywhere to go. Like downtown is better now because they got the streetcar, they got those. We have some bus rapid transit systems. We call them Max here. So we got some Max buses. You have some kind of way to get around. But in Johnson County, it's just like, well, unless you're a guy, in a pickup truck in the suburbs or whatever, driving around, there's just no way to get around. You have to rent a car or something or take an Uber. And I think that it's kind of by design to a certain extent, because I think a lot of the proposals for light rail or even commuter rail kind of get voted down by the suburbs just because of the idea that poor people or whatever might be able to come into your neighborhood, and I don't want them in my neighborhood, so I gotta vote against it.
But the thing is that what are they going to do?
Exactly.
Do you really think that there's going to be legions of poor people coming in to come steal your TV?
Well,
is that seriously a rational thought? Do you actually think that like they're going to be roving like just gangs of people down your cul-de-sac?
I think you look at like St. Louis a couple of years ago. It's like I think that they do think that, like, there's like gun people or whatever in St. Louis that came out.
It's like a couple that came out with guns, even though they live in like an absolute insane mansion.
Yeah, it's just like I genuinely do think that they. I don't know whether it's propaganda or whatever, where they just believe that, at any moment, if we make it easier for poor people to come in, they're just going to like burn my house down or whatever. When in reality, it's like, no, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be allowing people to come work at jobs in your neighborhood easier and have better access to their, and it's going to be getting those people off of like I-35 and I-435. So thereby and this is what I always think the argument should be when you're talking to like those types of people, is that you have to frame it from a point of view that shows how it benefits them, right? Because they're not going to buy the argument of, well, this is how it's good for the environment, or this is how it's good for the city budget. You just have to frame it as, this is how it benefits you. You're going to have less traffic when because of course you're going to be driving to work, so you're going to have less traffic on the highway because it's going to get those people off the roads, whatever.
If you work with some weird granola eating weirdo that you think is going to be more prone to take public transit,
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a weird mindset we have here in the 21st century, like American psyche. It's just like this, like home as castle, hyper defensive when it doesn't need to be. Like I do remember I went to Chicago a few months ago, and my mom was just like super concerned because you like hear stories about Chicago and the murder rates and whatever. But it's like I was walking. I think I've said this story on this podcast before, but I was walking like at 2 a.m. to go to like a restaurant to get a terrible hamburger because there's like a really nice greasy hamburger at Portillo's, and it's just like there's like people walking their dogs out. It's like I don't feel like unsafe at all. Like I think Kansas City has a higher murder rate than Chicago, but it's just like the perception,
Now, not. I remember your mom was also afraid when we went to do the Union Station adventure when we bought those $10 tickets to go to Lawrence.
Well, that one was even dumber because we were just stuck at Lawrence at 2 a.m. in 20-degree weather for 6 hours and nothing was open and we didn't have a hotel. That one was probably less safe than Chicago because we could have frozen to death.
But yeah, I mean, I just wish that there was just something at all that doesn't involve driving my car every morning.
Yeah. And okay, so I live like a block away, maybe a mile away from my work, but the problem is that the bus doesn't run often enough to make it make sense. So like I work at 8, right? The bus comes at 5:30 and 8:30. So I would either have to get up multiple hours before I work and get to work at like 6 or 7, 6:30. Or I would have to get to work late because Johnson County and all these areas around it and Kansas City or whatever just kind of has the mentality of people don't use the bus, right? So we should cut funding for the bus. And then what happens? Oh, well, the funding's cut, so service is worse like it is right now, so let's cut funding more. And that's how you get stuff like I think Bridge, like with a J, and like Iris system and all that, where basically they're just like, well, nobody rides the buses because we cut funding, so let's just get like basically Uber, which I'm sure it's a fine system, but it's still stupid because it's like, look, if we just took all the money we're putting into these programs and put them into the buses instead and made them run reliably, because like once again in Chicago, I took the bus everywhere because it was reliable. It was coming every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes, and I didn't have to worry that it just straight up wouldn't show up to the stop and would just drive around it.
And I ride the bus, the Kansas City bus, a bit more than you ride the Kansas City bus.
Yeah.
But still, like, even downtown, or at least like the Kansas City proper area, it is like solid, but still iffy. And I know we both experienced that when we went to the Brookside Parade.
Yeah, that's what I was just referencing. Yeah. Do you want to say that one?
Oh, yeah. So we went to, there was a neighborhood in Kansas City called Brookside. They had a St. Patrick's Day parade. We got loaded and cheered on a bunch of floats in the pouring rain, and we were going to take the bus up to go up to Westport, which is like one of the main drinking areas in Kansas City. And the bus said it would arrive at like, I don't know, it was like 3:40 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was nearing on an hour where it just didn't show.
And I had Kansas City uses the transit app, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm sure other communities use. but it shows where your bus is, and we were just kind of standing there. And eventually I checked it, and it's like, oh, it went, say, I'm just going to say a random road. I know it's not actually Kansas City Road. Say it was on East Street, right? It just kind of went over onto like 3rd Street and then onto West Street and then onto like 4th Street and then onto East Street. It just went around us, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, what's up with this, guys? We're at a real bus stop. Like, it's supposed to come this way.
Yeah, it should have picked us up on Brookside Boulevard.
Uh-huh. And then what did we do?
We got an Uber.
Yep. Got an Uber because, well, the bus was unreliable. And was the bus unreliable because it had too much money?
No.
No.
Granted, the bus has been reliable to take me to Southwest Boulevard to get good Mexican food.
Yeah.
So I'll give the bus credit in that location. And also, the Max buses are great.
But
like
I
the Max
think
buses.
it was a Max bus that we were supposed to be taking, too. And that's the thing that gets me is the Max is supposed to be the premier. We're putting all our money in this service because it's bus rapid transit. But I think it was a Max bus, and it just didn't show up. And it's like, of course nobody would ride it, because if you're trying to go to work in the morning and the bus just doesn't stop at your stop, what are you supposed to do? Of course I'm going to be like, well, I'm going to drive, because we just need to actually keep putting money into the system to make it actually work, instead of just doing the whole privatization scheme, you know, like, oh, we can just do Uber or whatever. It's so stupid.
Man.
I need to pivot back because I forgot there was one more point on this highway expansion thing that I completely brushed over. So $655 million, right, audience? $655 million. To quantify that number for you, that's for, I think, 3 or 4, maybe 2 lanes of highway expansion. The Kansas City streetcar project, which was, I believe, 2 miles, so about the same, was $100 million. The expansion, I believe, was $170 to maybe $200 million.
They also received a lot of federal funding.
Yeah, and that expands it up to be, how long is it? Like 6 miles? 11 miles?
6 sounds more correct.
Yeah, 6 sounds more correct. Point being is, that's a, you could, if you're Johnson County, for half the money of the highway expansion, you could put a streetcar down 95th, and you could put one down Metcalf. That's 2 major transit corridors that you could cover with reliable, frequent train service that could carry more people. And then when people want to drive to shopping on Metcalf or whatever, you can just take the streetcar instead. Just walk down to the streetcar stop. And you still have $300 million to play with. Or, let's see, St. Louis, they have a subway system, don't they?
They have the metro system,
Yeah.
which I've written.
I might be completely wrong on this, but the number I was able to find for the cost of that system was, I think, about $400 million. So we could have a subway system.
And the weirdest thing is, when it comes to transit, if people say, like, either you have to have like a really old system, or you basically don't get one at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been some arguments that we've seen online about people who are like, well, if you do it piecemeal, you don't even deserve it to have it at all.
Yeah, we may have seen this online
Yeah.
right before we started recording.
Yeah, right before we started recording. I'd like to point out that one of the newer public transit systems in the United States was built in the 70s, and it is the DC Metro system. Yeah.
Incredible.
What's a not 1800s to like early 1900s system, actually one that was built basically post highways, that goes through our nation capital.
And it works.
And it works. Granted, it does stop at landmarks than like actual like locations.
Well, I think DC is pretty much just landmarks, though, right?
Yeah. And I did steal that from someone who did tell me that, so I'm sorry.
It's okay. But no, it's just like, and going back to that the specific system we're talking about, I'm going to dox us right here, what we were reading about. It's the Omaha streetcar, back to the beginning of the podcast.
Yes.
I
don't
think
that's doxing. That's just reverting.
No, doxing what we were reading.
Oh.
Okay, doxing what we read before the podcast, otherwise known as revealing. No, it's like there's this. it's stupid, but there's this like mindset amongst, I think, a lot of people from, I'm going to call you out right here, Chicago and New York and bigger cities with a functioning public transit system that's probably a couple hundred years old, where they don't have any experience with a new public transit system because, you were like born in New York and you've always known the subway or whatever. And you look at, say, the KC streetcar, the Omaha streetcar, and you're like, wow, that's 2 miles. Wow, that sucks. You're spending how much money to build that? Wow, that's awful. You're better off just having buses because, it's better for whatever. Not realizing that you shouldn't let perfect be the enemy of good, and you have to start somewhere. And if the alternative is A, you have a streetcar, a train, like an electrified train, or B, you have a bus, and then you replace it with another bus, and then you replace it with another bus, and they're all burning diesel or batteries or whatever. It's probably better to have the train that's going to last 60 years, or in the case of the New York subway, oh yeah, the system is going to last 200 years. Like, you got to start somewhere. I think it's a lot of these East Coast brain people that don't realize that, oh yeah, you can't just snap your fingers and spawn a transit system into existence
also,
fully
it's
fledged.
really hard to fight the opposition who do not want the public transit system built. And that's the issue. But also the thing that I like to point out about that is Kansas City has a 1 mile street fair ride that goes up and down one street and doesn't actually really serve any purpose unless you want to get expensive drinks at Power and Light and then get ice cream up in the River Market. Mm-hmm. That doesn't really serve that much of a purpose. But it has millions of riders because it showed proof of concept that it was able to be an actual viable system. And that streetcar got people who would have never stepped foot in public transit ever in their entire lives on public transit. And they didn't even think about it.
Sometimes you need a really fancy modern toy train to get people to realize, oh, this isn't that bad actually. This is a lot nicer than driving. I'm sitting and I'm going 2 miles and then I get off. Wow.
Granted, we do have KC tinted glasses.
Yeah,
but
we always do. That's our guarantee on this podcast. But it's just like, I kind of look at it like the marijuana bill in Missouri, right? Where a lot of people were telling, say a lot of leftists who were pro marijuana legalization were telling people to vote against the bill because it didn't go far enough, right? And you tell me, is it better to legalize weed and then move from there into improving decriminalization and getting people out of prisons? Or is it better to not legalize weed and then still have all those other problems as well?
At least stop the arrests for marijuana. Yeah, I mean, it's important. Granted, I would like to see people released from prison for marijuana charges, but once again, I don't want
ground one. Okay, well, we've legalized weed, so nobody else is going to be arrested now. So now from there, we have a good step forward, and we can continue to work on this. Versus, again, with the Omaha system, okay, we have a bus rapid transit system. Let's build a streetcar. That the bus rapid transit has been wildly successful, incredibly successful. I think it's one of the most successful systems in the country. So here's what we'll do. We'll go 1 block south. We'll put in a permanent streetcar that effectively is the bus rapid transit, but on fixed infrastructure, running not exactly the same route, but it's going from a major university to a major hospital and stopping in a bunch of cultural stops like Old Town and a bunch of restaurants and hotels and stuff. It's got the Union Pacific building. That way, while it's constructing, the bus rapid transit still running. We're not tearing up the road. And then we have permanent infrastructure, and guess what? The buses can move. So once it's set up, okay, well, we'll just move the buses to be feeder. Okay, the streetcar is incredibly successful. Well, let's get more buses to feed into it like we're doing in Kansas City where we're expanding the max routes. So then all of a sudden you have a central core of fixed infrastructure that you can continue to buy more bus rapid transits to work as feeders into.
Now, I'm rooting for Omaha here, but as long as they don't get a professional team in any sports, go Omaha.
Yeah, exactly. They got the World Baseball, the College World Cup, or World Series.
College World Series. And they also have a sick zoo.
Yeah, their zoo is killer. But it's in the middle of nowhere. That's the problem. Omaha, a lot cooler than you think. They got the Union Pacific headquarters, which isn't necessarily cool, but It's cool.
Yeah.
They have, I think their tallest building, which a lot of our listeners, you might not be from the Midwest, so their tallest building is the same height as Kansas City's tallest building, but right now they're constructing a brand new skyscraper that's even taller. It's going to be almost 700 feet tall, I believe. So
That's cool.
yeah, I think I may have just doubled the size of Kansas City's.
I don't know.
I've been reading a lot about Chicago and a lot of skyscrapers, so I think numbers are fake.
Don't quote us on that.
Don't quote us on anything.
Yeah. I'm amazed you people listen.
Yeah, honestly.
So, oh man, I am rooting for Omaha.
They're cool. I think they're cool. I think Lincoln is cooler, but Lincoln is also like college town cool, like Lawrence cool. Omaha is like more like Kansas City, St. Louis. Like, hey, we're kind of they have Kansas City vibes. I went there recently. They have Kansas City vibes.
And that's something that so St. Louis has very East Coast city vibes, but every
Yes.
city past St. Louis has a completely different vibe where, like, when I go to Denver feels like bigger, crunchier Kansas City.
Yeah.
Or when I go to Salt Lake City, that's weird Mormon Kansas City.
Minneapolis is like
It is cold, like Norwegian, blonde hair, blue-eyed Kansas City.
yeah. That's because okay, personally, this is just me, not the podcast. I think that those cities we just named are the Midwest. Chicago, Cleveland, Cincinnati are the Great Lakes. They're not the Midwest.
Are you declaring a separate region?
So, you look at the country, right? You got the middle, which is Chicago, right? And then you have west of the middle, which is Kansas City in that area. So, therefore, Kansas City is still in the middle, but it's on the west. It's the Midwest. Chicago is like the Great Lakes region. They're just the middle.
They could claim, if you are a Ohio, Indiana, Illinois person or Michigan person, you could claim that Kansas, Nebraska, and part of Colorado is Great Plains.
Yeah.
And declare a separate region that, the area I said former is the Midwest, but the area that I said latter is the Great Plains.
Yeah. You could, but you'd be wrong.
The American regions are stupid, and we need we need Joe Biden to declare, instead of like spending a week and a half in Ireland having the time of his life, declare what exactly each American region is. So we can settle the Midwest versus South versus West debate.
Yeah, I don't know. Casey's cool. I think there's a lot of cities out here that don't have the entrenched, I don't want to say politics, but just like culture, where they're like 300 years old, and it's like, wow, everything's, your subway system, you walk into it and it's like, yeah, this was built in 1870, so yeah, do it that way you will. Where it's just like, yeah, no, we got the streetcar built in 2016, it's cool. I just like the vibes. It's more up and coming,
Yeah, I mean, 1870 is nothing to a European, though.
Well, yeah, but Europeans need not apply except for Belgium, I guess.
I don't know. But, so, Omaha, I have a buddy that moved up there, though, and there's one bar, I need to figure out what it is, because I'm going to go up there at some point, where they have a shot and a beer for $4.
I definitely didn't find it.
Shot and a beer for $4. The Midwest rocks.
The Midwest does rock. I mean, 44 minutes.
44?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's keep going. Are the Royals any good?
No. Well, they lost. I got your hopes up, didn't I?
Yeah. But
they lost by 2
but
to
the A's are moving to Las Vegas.
Yay.
No, not yet.
I mean, they're not good.
No, they're not good. And you know what? They're going to turn on the heat right when they get in Vegas. But those 2 years are going to still be playing in Oakland after announcing it. Is going to be brutal.
It's going to be hell.
Brutal.
I think they should go back to Kansas City just to make people from Philadelphia mad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come out as the anti-Philadelphia action. We're the anti-Philadelphia podcast just because we play them in the Super Bowl, and they're probably the team to beat in the NFL. So we're just gonna come out right now. Mortal enemies.
You know what team should return though? To make my dad happy.
Sacramento.
No. The Dodgers should go back to Brooklyn.
It's too late. They should just do like the Ravens did and just make a new Dodgers. Just be like, no, you're the LA Dodgers. We're the Brooklyn Dodgers.
You mean the Mets? Because they made the Mets.
Did they?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
The Mets was made as basically a replacement team for the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Why didn't they call them the Dodgers?
Because the Dodgers kept the name.
Ugh, that's lame.
But yeah,
I'm not up to date fully on my New York lore. Sorry,
but my dad wears the Brooklyn Dodgers hat. That is his hat.
Didn't they move in like the 20s?
No, they moved in the 50s.
He
wasn't even alive.
Yeah, I was gonna say he wasn't alive. He's not that old.
No.
I'm gonna. Meanwhile, here I am wearing my my Kansas City Kings jersey because I'm still mad about when they left 10 years before I was born.
Yeah, or buying KC Scouts merch, which I found in a rally house.
Yeah, they do sell the vintage merch.
And I do kind of want to buy some KC Scouts stuff because Kansas City and hockey would be really fun. I feel like Kansas City would really like a hockey
We
game.
have the Mavericks. They're like AAA.
Yeah.
We need to go to a Mavericks game.
We do need to go to a Mavericks game.
I think my sister wants to go to one. We should take her.
We went a few years ago, and we watched them break one of the plexiglass panels.
Yes, I remember that because I thought it was like Mario Kart because it's just like, oh, you're in like triple bonus. Now like the siren goes off and everybody has to like dance on the court. And it's just like, I don't know what's going on, but they're fighting. This is great.
Triple bonus means 3 guys were in the penalty box.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just like sirens are going off and there's like a woo woo woo. And it's just like, okay, you know, like, all right, they got like the bonus point time. Now it's, you know, they gotta do trigonometry on the ice. It's just like, okay, man, the hockey's great. And then people start fighting.
And they made some like poor like Finnish man sing "Born in the USA" at halftime.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But yeah, my dad wears the Brooklyn Dodgers hat, and I have been with him in like while he's wearing the hat, and he were like Boston Red Sox, but in blue, and he has an absolute just like cow.
Oh god. Yeah.
It's bad.
I can imagine.
He is the same man who has not forgiven the St. Louis Cardinals for allowing the Red Sox to win their first World Series since like the 1900s.
Yeah. Yeah, at least we didn't in '85.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, did you see that the St. Louis Chicago corridor has been upgraded to 110 mile an hour?
What?
Yeah.
So Missouri River Runner to Southwest Chief, or
no, just the Lincoln service from St. Louis to Chicago, because it's basically they're doing a template, right? Because they've got the PCM or whatever. They got like a fancy computer controllers that I heard on. Well, there's your problem, but they got that now, so they're able to go above 70 miles an hour. So now it's 110. So now you can get from Chicago to there 15 minutes faster, I think. But the whole service is faster. With the same trackage and all that, which, you know what's next in line to be upgraded that way?
Missouri River Runner?
Yep.
Yeah, let's go, Missouri River
We're
Runner.
going to get higher speed trains. I think Amtrak has realized, wait, for very minimal amounts of money, we can get most of our routes in the United States to go from 55 to 70 to 110 on the exact same trackage.
If they get Missouri River Runner to 110...
That's faster.
We're going to go get bombed in Herman, Missouri at the wineries.
Yeah.
We're going to get on the yellow school buses.
Now, this plays into what we were talking about before, which is people being a perfect enemy of good, where a lot of people on, of course, Twitter were mad about this being upgraded to 110. You know why?
Because it's not fast enough.
Yes, it's not 200 miles an hour. It's not high-speed rail. And it's like, oh, my God, we've gone, 40 miles faster, but that's not good enough. We should be going 80. And it's like, guys, it's faster. It's improved service. Like, what do you want?
We should force the Japanese to give us the Shinkansen, and we should then run it on our current tracks that we have that were built in like the 1900s.
Yes.
And then kill everyone in a train accident.
That would be fun, yeah. But no, it's just the constant trend of enemy being the perfect Perfect being the enemy of good. And like guys, we can't have any piecemeal improvements. We can't slowly improve the entire system. We have to improve it all at once immediately, or it's not good enough. It's like, come on, guys, come on. I know that you guys up in the Northeast who are probably doing most of this complaining have the Acela, but we don't have anything out in the Midwest. We can barely get from place to place.
Oh,
Give us something.
Oh yeah, can we talk about your little precious Acela where it goes 30 miles an hour through a small town in Connecticut? Huh?
High-speed rail on average.
High-speed rail on average. As we talk, we don't have high-speed rail. We just have like the Missouri River Run in the Southwest, Chief.
Yeah.
And we're currently going to spend $500 million to expand the highway. Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, things are great here, guys. Don't worry.
Anyway, I think this is good enough, right?
Yes.
Cool. All right.
Thank you for listening. I've been RC.
I've been Matt. This has been Cleo Talk. You can go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Cleo History. You can email us at cleohistorypodcast@gmail.com. And if you like the episode, leave a review. And you can go ahead and share it if you like. And we're available wherever you get podcasts.
Yeah.
So thank you. And this has been a good episode.
Bye.
Bye.